Oh, let's hope this works because I am tired. All right, everybody, how are you doing? It is, what the hell day is this? January 25th, 2023. I don't know, whatever. You know what year it is. You know what day it is. You know what? You're in better shape than I am. You've got your life all figured out. You've got it all together. Anyways, Cranky comic book review. Worst to best. I've got a stack of nonsense this week, so let's get into it. Worst. We have dun dun dun. Look, I gotta make sure I'm not putting my forehead off the camera. I have to adjust this. I'm not doing it today. I'll figure out this. The software uploaded a new thing. It's all new versions. Technology. I'm old. I'm cranky, and Thor sucks. Honestly, it's written by Grandbeck, art by Klein, and yeah, it's. Grandbeck wrote that Jane Foster Thor miniseries that bored the ever-loving crap out of me, and I stopped reading it. And I'm kind of, here's the thing, I like Thor. It's one of my favorite characters, so I want to keep reading it so I don't get confused, but I also realize I don't give a shit. I really don't. And Nick Klein's art, I think, has taken a big step downhill in this issue. Like, even this giant splash page just is kind of boring and gaudy and not Nick Kleiny. I don't know if that makes sense. I really hated this. It's set up, I think it's trying to like tie in stuff that Donny Cates sort of set up way back in issue 5 or 6. This is issue number 30. And it's not doing a good job of it. It doesn't have that same Cates tone, and I don't love Cates always, but I did like him on Thor, at least at first. He had this sort of brashness to it and this sort of like grand cosmic thing that was great. And this is grand and cosmic, I guess. It's got Corvus Glaive in it. It's got a reveal at the end that's supposed to be big and shocking, but it's kind of just, I don't know. All of this just fell flat for me, and I'm pretty much done if Grandbeck keeps writing this. I think Donny Cates is coming back, and maybe I'll pick it back up then. But if I see Grandbeck's name on this book anymore, I'm going to run like the plague. And Nick Klein, I'm hoping it's an off month because like I really just didn't like this art. Maybe it's the coloring is different. I'm not sure. But it's just this issue just felt way off to me. So it is what it is. All right, next we have Action Comics. My favorite cover, and I paid $8 for this book. You can tell because it's an upside down price tag because my LCS is weird. And it's in a bag. I'll bag the rest of these later. Shut up. Action Comics 1051. This is supposed to be the big stepping on point for new people and stuff and things. And this is the only issue that it was sold out at the crappy LCS. So I bought this one for $8. The variant cover. I like the variant cover. This is not going to hold value, though. I'm sure it's not. I'll probably, if I could sell this damn thing, I will, because I'm a dirty whore and I want to make some money back. And I didn't care for this. I'm not going to keep reading the run. It's 3 stories in here, which I also don't like. If you're going to have just tell a goddamn story. Just have like one comic devoted to old Superman, one to his kid, and one to somebody else. But like, this has new super family in it, I guess. And the first sort of story that has a reveal at the end that's supposed to be big, but I'm not paying attention. And I thought this was a good jumping on point, but it gives you a little bit of enough of a start where you're like, okay, I sort of get what's going on. I don't think it's that interesting. And then, yeah, the reveal at the end of that part was bleh. The middle story by Dan Jurgens that I literally don't remember a damn thing about other than that it's written by Dan Jurgens. And it's got some bone. It's boring. It's got, I don't care where it's going. I really don't care. And then a Power Girl thing at the end that also, none of this made me give a shit and want me to jump on. Like if you're going to have a jumping on point and you're going to try and get new readers, start with exciting shit. Have something big and bombastic happen. Have something like glorious and like over the top and comic booky, and not this. I mean, the cover's cool, but like this is not what you for a jumping on point. No, they bored me enough that I'm like, I don't fucking care. I don't. Next, okay. Here's the thing. I knew this would be a stupid book, and it's a stupid book. It's a stupid Darkwing Duck adventure. It's nothing surprising. The art is pretty Darkwing Ducky. It's art by Carlo Laro, art stripped by Amanda Dibert. And it's pretty faithful to the old cartoon. It's stupid. It's a dumb adventure, but that's the whole point of this. This was a nostalgia buy for me. I kind of liked the cartoon back in the day. And I like this cover by David Nakayama. Will I keep it up? No. It didn't have enough there to like keep me going. And it's realized after I read this, I'm like, yep, okay. Even thinking back about it, Darkwing Duck was kind of a dumbass cartoon, and this is kind of a dumbass book. but it's fun and like it's got a message for the children in here. There's a message for the kids. So if you're reading this or watching this and want to give your kids a message about life and stuff, you can buy Darkwing Duck and have a big dumb adventure. It's decent. It's just like it's not going to change anything. It's not for me because I'm an old ass cranky middle aged man. But yeah, I bought it. I read it. I like the cover. It's fine. All right. Next, we have Justice Society of America #2, and this is not awful. It's Jeff Johns, right, and it's art by a bunch of people. And that's part of the problem. The art's not very consistent. I like the Mikkel something art. I don't know. It's the Huntress is flippity flopping through time, and then there's more flippity flopping with the other people, and it's a timey-wimey, jumpy aroundy kind of book. And that's the thing. It's a very disconcerting to read, and it's just disjointed and doesn't come together at the end of this issue to have any kind of resolution. It's got apparently a big reveal at the end. I know that's the comic book way of monthlies, and I don't mind that. But what the problem is like in the interim and the stuff that's hanging, if you've not been paying attention to DC, and I've not been, or the Justice Society, or you're not really well versed on the Dark Justice Society of America and just anything else, none of this is really going to catch you. And like it's really is just like pop, 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 jumpy, jumpy, jump, which can work, but not in a monthly. And I think Jeff Johns knows better. I think this is going to be pretty decent collected, but for this issue, it's not good. And I know he knows better because there's a book much further down in this stack that he's written that I really enjoy, but this is not it. And it's fine. And like I like some of the characters involved. I like some of the art involved. I don't think that each time jump needed a new artist. I get that that's their excuse to like split up the workload because everyone's behind on shit and they're not paying artists for crap. But and there are some cool pages in here, and there's a lot of characters I dig. It's just not a story yet, and it could get there. Maybe I'm just in a mood today. I don't know. Whatever. I probably am, but who cares? All right. Next we have Gangster asked Barista #1 with gold. And this is actually a pretty interesting setup. It's an indie book. Who's it published by? Black Mask. Written by Pat Shand. Art by Renzo Rodriguez. Bonus story is illustrated by Vincenzo Riccardi. And it's a black and white story set in New York as a gangster-ass barista. And it's a fun setup to a kind of crime noir-ish action-adventure. I think maybe like kind of Mark Miller-ish story, with some Sopranos pastiche thrown in there, some gangster and like money problems, and a barista with an attitude, and foul mouth, and a hidden past, all that kind of stuff. And it actually is a fun setup. It's very, very verbose. Like, just look at the word count on that. Look at the word bubbles. Look at them. Count them all. There's like 8 billion. And that just, like, it's not, I think they would do better letting the visuals tell the story, instead of like having the word bubbles and the thought bubbles and the dialogue and the text blocks explain the story. And that's what this is doing. It's like not trusting the artist to like handle their share of the load, and not trusting the comic medium to really do its job. I think it's just kind of a matter of inexperience and that. But I don't think it's bad. I might actually get issue #2 if I can find it. I think actually this came out a couple weeks ago, but I just kind of got it today. And I don't know, it was $6, so it's a tough call on this one. I like the setup, but I don't know if I like it enough to keep going on it. It's a tough one for me. And it's kind of feels like a middle of the road indie book, and that's kind of where it is. It's in the middle of the stack, middle of the road. I'm not trying to knock it. I guess I just did. But I mean, the art's decent, especially I like the art A story. It's got a little bit of cartooniness, but and there are some panels where you're like, what the hell's going on? But for the most part, not bad. It's black and white, and the lettering's not bad either, but it's just not quite there yet. I think that maybe like their second or third collaboration, or possibly down the line, the writer could be a pretty decent comic writer and have their stuff all figured out and like really get it settled. But it just kind of feels like an inexperience to me, and kind of like, just not trusting the format. All right, next. Murderworld Wolverine. There's like everything other than Murderworld thing, and every other reviewer is probably going to tell you there's no Wolverine in this. There was no Spider-Man in the Spider-Man one. There was no whatever the fucking whatever the first one is. I don't remember. It's an arcade story. It's basically what's that TV show that took Netflix by storm where everyone was competing for stuff and they died? I can't remember. Hunger Games? Whatever. Not that, but something like that. It's a fun enough Murder World arcade story, and I like these kind of stupid, dumb things where like everyone's competing to see who lives, and like you're stuck on an arcade's island and whatever. These actually do all tie together, sort of. They're kind of one shots, but they all are totally tying like together one Squid Games-y type of story. So go back and get the others if you can find them. This one's probably my least favorite. I think this is the only one that were the first one. The first two I think were written just by Jim Zub, and this one is Jim Zub and Ray Fox. It is Carlos Nieto on the penciling, and it's not bad. It still tickles my fancy. Yeah, that's right, tickles my fancy, dirty perverts. But it still scratches my dirty itch. That's not even a better. It's fine. It's a fun enough superhero kind of romp without really superheroes. But like if you're looking for a Wolverine story, this ain't it, people. And yeah, it's just a dumb, entertaining book. It's not going to change shit. The next one I think up is like Murder World Moon Knight. Is that what's coming up next? Which I'm sure will have, Murder World Moon Knight, which will I'm sure have no Moon Knight in it. But it's if you're looking for a Squid Games type book, you could do worse than this. Although this is the worst of the three so far. All right, this book should just have been a giant-sized, oversized collection because it makes no fucking sense. It's Tradmore, art by Heather Moore. This is Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise issue number 3, and I've said this about the first two, and I'm saying it about this one. I don't know what the hell's going on in this book, but it's a glorious ride. It's gorgeous, it's trippy, and it just doesn't make any damn sense to me. There's like, it sort of reminds me of like when I was a kid, like 7 or 8 years old. I think I came across like a heavy metal magazine, and I got like a collection of like 70s comics at the library. And I grabbed it and I started reading it, and like I had no idea what was going on. It was just trippy as hell, and I just dug the art, and I was like, "Oh, I'm kind of there for it." I think there might have been some Mobius in there, and I'm not even sure what other art. I just remember being enthralled by it, and that's kind of where I am here. I'm enthralled by the art, but like I don't get the story. I don't think there is much of a story. I think it's just like somebody's on a whole lot of therapeutic mushrooms and decided to write a comic book and draw a comic book, and it's cool. I think it'd be served better by a bigger format, and I think it should have just been collected as a whole thing, because it's a like what little story I could make out, and like all right, that's I guess going on. I'm just gonna sit and stare at the pretty pictures. It's a hard one to grade or to put in the stack because it's like, what the hell do you do with it when you don't get it? And like, I'm just going purely based on enjoyment. And I'm like, I like the art enough to put it about there. So that's that. I know, a riveting goddamn review, which that's what you get from me sometimes. Sorry. Next, we have Plush number 3, Cannibal Furries. It's the same writer as same team as Vinyl and Plastic. I think there were the other two they did together. And this is really a stupid book. It's about cannibal furries and fucking with the police and having some kind of sort of plan. And like, I don't know where it's going. I think it's going to either wrap up or, man, I don't know if it's wrapping up now. I doubt it's wrapping up next issue, but like, it's just, if you like what I said as far as the idea goes, and you liked their other works like Vinyl, with the serial killer that had to listen to music and that kind of stuff, and like just over the top, the weird ass violent books that are pretty well drawn and fun and with enough bizarre and and outrageousness that you're kind of hooked, then that's this. It's not going to change the world. It's not going to light up your life. It's not going to do much. It's not like, if you liked Ed Piskor's Red Room, you might dig this. Although I do think Ed Piskor's Red Room has a much better mastery of the craft, and I think that's a much better comic. I think this is just a fun, entertaining, like, middle of the stack. Like, if you're looking for more shit to read and you kind of want some stuff that's outside your normal stuff, or if this is your normal stuff, I don't know, maybe get help, but, you'll probably dig it. Plush, number 3. It's by Doug Wagner and somebody Hilliard. I should tell you these things in the reviews. Doug Wagner and Daniel Hilliard. Yeah. So, there you go. And next, this one? Okay. All right. We have Mr. Sinister, or Sins of Sinister #1, written by Kieran Gillian, art by about 8 billion people. And a lot of it is splash pagey stuff. I only got this because it was Kieran Gillen, and I like some of his other stuff. And I dig Mr. Sinister as a character because he's just kind of a conniving bastard, and I like that. And this is at his connivingest, bastardliest. Yeah, those are real words. The art holds it down in places, and some of the depictions gets a little jarring when you're going from like page to page where you have different artists in every spread. But this is like, and it does. You're going to have at least some basic knowledge of what's been going on in the X-Men in the past couple of years, with like the island of Krakoa and regeneration and the mutants not dying kind of stuff. I've stopped reading X-Men, and I still found this pretty enjoyable. I don't think you need a complete mastery and to follow everything that's been going on in the X-Men. But if you just want like a fun Mr. Sinister tale and you're like kind of caught up, or you can like read a synopsis online or something, this is actually pretty decent. I don't love the different spreads with different artists all the time. I really wish I just had one artist doing this whole thing. And I think this is like a 10 issue, or there's going to be 10 books. Yeah, there's 10 books that tie into this thing. Will I get all 10? I really doubt it. But like it's like just sort of taken over. Like there's Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants. There's like 3 issues of that, and then Nightcrawler's 3 issues, and then Immortal X-Men. Get it? Because Immortal's the main title, and there's 3 issues of that. I will probably pick up, and I'm not saying buy. I'm saying literally go to the LCS, pick them up, and thumb through them and see if they hold my interest, and see who the creative teams are on each of those books. Because this has the potential to be a fun event, and if this is a setup for a really fun event, you get like the everybody's doomed except for Sinister, and he's got this all kind of in place-ish, kind of. And then the ending, you're like, well, maybe not. And then there's like, the token lone hero that's kind of out there, but like it's an interesting point of view for this event. It's not told from your normal like heroes ruling the day, kind of like fighting back thing. It's sort of told almost from Sinister's point of view, which I also dig. So not a bad book. I like the cover too. Also, it happened to be the only variant they had in stock at my lovely LCS. But yeah, Sins of Sinister #1, pretty decent actually. All right, another book that just keeps like not surprising me at this point, but I keep enjoying it, and I'm surprised by that. And this is Traveling to Mars issue #3. It's Mark Russell writing and Roberto Melli on the art. And this is, you'd think a Traveling to Mars book could be about traveling to Mars, and it sort of is. Well, what it's really about is a guy dying of cancer on a spaceship. And it's an essay on life and like looking back on like what is kind of somewhat of a wasted life by some regards, and by even by the main character's kind of like point of view, he's like realizes he's not done everything he could. So it's about living up to your life's potential, or what that might mean and what that really might not mean. And then there's also like not so subtle digs at humanity and where we're all heading in here. So it's not a sci-fi adventure book, and it's not a action-packed romp. What it is a pretty decent like meditation on things. And so if you're looking for that, and crap, my camera might have paused in the middle there because my laptop fell asleep. I'm not going to go back and edit it. I'm way too long into this shit. I apologize. Hopefully you kept with it. Hopefully it's stuck, and hopefully it's still going. But yeah, Traveling to Mars, I really dug it. I'm liking the whole humanity's kind of asshole-ish, and what is a life, anyways. Next, Hitomi #4. This is a revenge tale of sorts. So kind of another one that surprised me, where I didn't expect to keep liking this as long as I did, as long as I have. And I think next issue is the last issue. It's written by H.S. Tock and art by Isabella Mazzanti. It's got this sort of sketchy, kind of loose, liquidy art style to it that I dig. And the story, it's a young girl whose family was killed, and so she's getting revenge and jumps on hooks up with the Ronin who's helping to train her, kind of. And then it kind of veers away from that kind of tropiness a little bit. And it's just kind of like a badass adventure story with these two characters that are sort of intertwined, even though they don't necessarily want to be. And yeah, I don't want to spoil this one a whole lot, but I really am digging it. And if you've not been reading it, I'd say give it a try. Yeah, Hitomi number 4. There's 5 issues total. You can maybe wait till it's collected. It's put out by Image, so they'll probably put it in a trade paperback at some point, I'd imagine. So, yeah. All right, we got a couple left. Saga number 61. The problem with this is it's been long enough that I've kind of forgotten some of the characters, and I'm not a Saga evangelist, so I don't like have every little aspect of this series memorized. I have managed to read all of the up to this point, but I read it in I read the first 50 issues in a really quick 2 or 3 days sitting a while back, and then I read the newer ones as they came out, and then there was a hiatus, and now we're back, and so it's probably slipping a few points because of the hiatus and because I'm struggling to kind of remember what has happened thus far. But that said, this is a space opera. This is Fiona Staples and Brian K. Vaughan. I love Fiona Staples' art. I love the universe. I love the characters that I do remember. And it's like all these chess pieces being moved around and all these oh, you're back and oh, okay, I got some of that. It's just, if you're liking Saga, you're going to like this issue. If not, you're probably in the weeds on this one. Go get the compendium for $30. You can probably find it used. It's first 50 issues. Really fun read. And then maybe try and get the second one when it's all done. They're a little over halfway through with the whole thing. And it has the potential to be one of the greatest series ever when it's all said and done. This issue is not ranking towards the top as far as greatest ever issues for me. But it's a continuation of the story. It's solid. It's just I'm struggling to remember a little bit. And apparently there's a letter page. I didn't read it. I'm too fast. I've been going too quickly, people. I've been trying. All right. Remember when I said Jeff Johns had a book later down on the list that knows how to tell a monthly story and actually engage the audience? Yeah, we have Junkyard Joe number 4, written by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank. Junkyard Joe is from the, was that Geiger? I can't remember which universe. Yeah, Geiger universe, kind of. But it's his own thing now, and it's become its own better. I'm liking this a lot better than Geiger, honestly. And this is just kind of, Geiger. What else hurts there? That's in the back. I like this a lot better than Geiger. I really do. And this is just a quiet sort of tale of, and more of a sort of Iron Giant-y, people stumbling upon a robot kind of thing, along with ruminations of the traumas of war and what that does to you, and mixed with just a solid, fun little adventure that's not gonna maybe change anything. I know. I think I probably said that 18 times in this review. Nothing's gonna change the world, but this is a solid book. It'll hit you in the feels. It'll make you care about a character that doesn't talk, and you'll learn to love Junkyard Joe. And there's there's nods to the Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes in here, and not subtle. I think they actually had to get probably licensing rights to use it. And yeah, I'm digging this one. I don't want to talk about it a whole lot. But you're only 4 issues in. I would say get the first 4 issues of Junkyard Joe. You can skip Geiger. It's not necessary to enjoyment of this. And even if you don't like issue number 1 of Junkyard Joe, keep going because it takes a pretty drastic turn after issue number 1. I was worried it would take a drastic turn each issue. It's not doing that. The first issue sets up who Junkyard Joe is, and then 2 through 4 are the meat of the story in the modern, quote unquote, modern day. So Junkyard Joe, pretty damn good, honestly. And last, and my favorite book, and it's probably my favorite book a couple times running, is Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. Jason Aaron writing. Alexandra Tefengi, Lee Lowridge. Yeah. This is a strange little book with strange little art. It's this odd couple that found each other in a post-apocalyptic society, which I am sick to death of mostly these post-apocalyptic books, but I love this one. You have Maceo and I can't remember who the other character's name is. I'm bad with character names, but there's this one character who's a hardened, lived in this world forever and grew up in the world and is on the run from something. Then there's this other character who is sheltered, raised by parents, and never left their own thing, even though the world has ended. And is you're kind of way into the world because it's the kid's this encyclopedia of retro knowledge from the current day, left over from our current day, VHS tapes and cassette tapes and how to play rock paper scissors and all that kind of stuff. And they're together and they like form this like bond. And the way like you see this bond kind of forming is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of just like a kind of fun-hearted, even though it's like fun-hearted evil kind of thing. And then at the end of the book, you're like, oh, okay, well that's yeah, all right. I guess that's how we're gonna end this issue. But then there's a time jump at the very end. It's like, holy crap! It just took a shift towards the badass in an unexpected way, at least for me. And so that's what the last couple pages really propelled it to the top of this week's list. Otherwise, it might have been like top 3/4 because I really did enjoy the kind of like soft poignancy and kind of like fun little like, oh, these two are learning to like each other bits in the first part. But then like the very end, you're like, what the fuck is going on? This is awesome. Ending to it. And so this like, I'm not saying it made me love comics again, but this is like some of these things that comics can do that other medium really can't do all that well, and I dug it. And I yeah, and so Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 3, best book of the week for me. And there you have it. I'm gonna get out of here because I gotta hit the get this edited and get it up and go hopefully jump on Chris the Comic Book's live stream and talk about all these things without giving any spoilers. We'll see if I make it. But thank you so much for watching. As always, don't be a dick, even if you've read a whole lot of books and you're sick of shiny Superman and you don't think Dan Jurgens can really write Superman and you hated that Superman and all that shit. Or if you really like Thor and you're killing Thor and you're killing your soul. Whatever. Just don't be a dick. I'll see you.